Okay, hi folks. I'm seeing the correct stream. Okay. Yes, you might need to go back onto my YouTube because this is not coming up. Yeah. Okay. It's troublesome. Yikes. Oh, hold on. Edit channels. No. Just bear with me a moment. Okay, YouTube. Should be seeing YouTube comments. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to Katie Marshall's stream in a moment. We're going to be talking about Lloyd George's Morgan McSweeney, Maundy Gregory. So I'm going to try a screen share with Katie. If that doesn't work, go over to Katie's streams. I'll also only be able to see comments from YouTube, not on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, my stream goes down or is only getting like one side of the conversation or whatever. Click on the links down to Katie's stream and we'll find things there. Fingers crossed. Okay. Well, okay. Whoa. Chaos Mundo. Hi, Katie, if you can hear me, you're in the mix. Oh, okay. Well, this is an omniscient. So yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So, uh, when Katie and I were going to do this co-stream, yeah, we were planning to do a co-stream. Can anybody actually hear me? Because I've been having some problems with my speakers, mic. Oh, I heard a buzzing noise. Oh, hello? I think I'm looking at a time-lapse version of you. I'm in the Google Meets, you set up? Let's see if that works. Okay. Um, right. Yes. Stuff's a bit wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Hmm. Okay.
Yes. There we go.
Oh.
Oh, you're muted, by the way.
I see Katie. Hello. Your mic and Andy's mic and camera were turned off. Hello, Katie.
Hello, hello. Rejoice, everyone. Right. Let's get myself comfy. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Right. Where shall we begin? I've got notes. I have notes. I have notes down here. There we go. People will not be able to see. They can see us. I'm not on video on the call. I'm on. So you've got the lovely little picture of me. I keep on meaning to do a better video for Google. I might actually update it a bit. So I am looking at your notes. I'm on part 1, prologue. So I can jump off you essentially, which is good. So shall we take it away and explain who this individual was?
Oh goodness, yes, it's going to be.
My God, I just done a couple of shorts there about Lloyd George.
Yeah, so right, the tagline I've been pimping us with is Lloyd George's Morgan McSweeney. This selling honors is illegal. This is a man who was the law for the prevention of the sale of honors, 1925, was brought in to stop this man. And 100 years on, if memory serves, he's the only person ever to be prosecuted under the law of the sales for honors. So,
seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was always before Maundy Gregory got involved with it. It was like it had always been done, going way back to Stuart times, right the way through. And of course, it's been done since.
2 centuries ago, everyone. God, they were prolific bastards.
He was a prolific bastard. What makes Maundy Gregory dastardly special is that he sort of accelerated the Seal of Honors to like really grotesque lengths. And that's kind of why he's a bit sort of notorious. I mean, we'll come into some of the stories about the people. Like he sold honors to like out and out criminals. So yeah.
Not that happens today, of course.
Wouldn't happen now. Not today.
Of course not. No, of course not.
So I'm a bit kind of, I've done loads of research into this, but again, like 10 or 15 years ago, and a couple of hours ago I was preparing and I uncovered like 6 or 7 text files. So Katie and I are dastardly unprepared. So what I'm going to do, there's kind of 3 key files from, I think it's Tom Cullen was Maundy's biographer. So maybe kind of if we could like go through those and sort of maybe like take a wee break between each, that would really help break it down for me. I guess, I mean, sort of given a bit of a Maundy sort of rise to notoriety, he was son of a preacher man. He was born, oh crap, I can't remember. He was at boys' school, Bannister School, 1899 to 1900. And he was an Oxford student. He used to live in quizzing, comic verse. He would also nick his dad's church ornaments, 16th century chalice, medieval brass lectern for
what the fuck?
So he would put these into place in his theatrical performances at school and afterwards, and this is really important actually because it informs how Maundy was able to work his way into Whitehall, just by putting on a performance, by creating a mise-en-scène. I can't remember what that means, but film studies people will know. There's some look of stuff, right? Constructed.
If anyone can, the Northeast does this more. Oh.
So.
Yeah. The Andy doesn't really drink. I'm not sober. I've been drinking. I'm naughty. Don't worry about me. It's 4%.
So he constructed his kind of. He didn't go straight into politics. It was the theatre. He was an aspiring actor and theatrical manager. He had some dalliances with another sort of well-known comic fraudster of the era, a guy called Jumbo Davidson, he was known as. But they were sort of getting West End stuff. I mean, the first kind of thing I have is 1907, where he put on a performance of Dorothy and had some child actor involved, Barbara Allen, who he billed as the smallest solo dancer in Europe, as part of the. Oh no, so this was Little Red Riding Hood, which he called the largest pantomime ever traveled. But for whatever reason, the child's mother was Oh, I think she tried to. She was involved in a kind of. I think Gregory was possibly blackmailing her. She threatened to sue him. It was settled out of court. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but pretty much he was kind of doing a lot of theatrical performances, and this kind of moved into sort of the West End, around sort of the city of London, and it he was really in over his head. So it was like a really notable performance of Dorothy, around 1908. And at this point, Gregory was so in over his head. I mean, he wasn't able to pay actors, lighting studio people, the venues, that he decided he would sabotage it. So he paid somebody or got somebody to shut down all the lights in this major theatre while he slipped out the back door of the takings.
Bloody crook.
Yeah.
Just to get out of his debts. Delightful chap.
Yeah, what I've got a quote from somebody who was there at the time. All they could do was light the candles, which was stage property for the second act of Dorothy, and grope their way in semi-darkness to collect their belongings from the dressing rooms. The electricity supply company issued a denial. The Stage, one of the magazines, condemned it as a speculative and insolvent management. Conditions to help the adventurer and the swindler, and collapse and scandal are inevitable in their wake. So Maundy got away from that, but I mean it's 1910, fairly close off that, where Maundy sort of, his MO really kicks into gear. So he took over this magazine, with the help of two others called there was Harry and Baron, raised quotation marks, Jack Keane Hargreaves, and they took over this magazine called Mayfair Town and Topics, condensed it to Mayfair, and essentially what they did was create a mise-en-scene. So you think of the word Mayfair, and what does that speak to you of? Like Tatler sort of level, high society connections, links and stuff.
Yeah, that sort of league of publication, essentially, like publication for posh twats.
Yes, and it's sort of, I mean,
there's lots of these different types of publications, by the way, everyone, back then. There's a few that have survived the culling essentially over the last sort of century. So you still got Tatler, you still got Town and Country, which is basically for the country set with their grand piles and all that fucking bollocks. But there was more back then, at the turn of like the late 1800s going into early 1900s. There was a good few of them back then, and a lot of them basically just they joined together. There was more of them. So it was basically the ones who had the better readership and stuff, and they survived to basically now.
So for those, it's essentially the opposite of what, if you were here for our chat about Horatio Bottomley, while he was appealing to the lowest common denominator, Maundy Gregory and the Hargreaves brothers were appealing to the highest common denominator. So features in Mayfair included the court,
landed Gentry.
The court and its train was one feature. Gossip in Mayfair, Cupid's Diary, turf jottings. You had the financial news, which was, I think it was called Throgmorton Street. And one of the key features is Man of the Day, which was to become Man of the 20th century. And this was a series of puff pieces for which he just wrote about how brilliant all these politicians and lords were. Now, if you've been to all of our chats about these horrible histories, you've noted that there's a certain cartoonist that keeps coming up again and again. He did Jabez Bottomley, he did Lulu Harcourt, he did Horatio Bottomley, and I've got one of his works down here that I managed to pick up. I can't remember who this is, but the artist is called Spy. His real name was Leslie Ward. And Maundy Gregory.
I'm trying to think who that could be.
Yeah,
and I can't. The artist doesn't need to sign who it is. It just needs to sign who it was done by, essentially, which is a bit of a shame because I would love to know who that is.
This is a guy called Vincent Brooks, apparently. You can see at the very base of it Spy's signature.
Oh, by his ankle. Yeah.
He also, Spy was on Leslie Ward was on a retainer. Also, other caricaturists with names like Pip and Elf, Quip. And so Maundy would just write about how brilliant these people were. And by doing so, this appealed to their vanity. He got himself offices quite central to the reigns of to Whitehall, to Westminster, and brought in his sort of theatrical background to kind of build the mise-en-scene to make it look like proper offices. You'd maybe get a few phony awards up on the wall, and these people, you know, they're vanity merchants. They just love to be told how brilliant they are and have other people be told how brilliant they are.
Yeah.
Which was like, I mean, there's good money in that for somebody who's gonna toady the line. Yeah.
Well, patronage was very important to them. Being able to get into these sort of circles and stuff, obviously. Like with Horatio Bottomley, appealing to like the lower, the not base, essentially, because of different connotation with that one, but the lower elements of public life, essentially, and appealing to like your landed gentry and all those fucking bastards, essentially. So trying to finagle his way in there, which would probably be quite good for his wallet. Let's put it like that.
It seemed to be when the war came by, the Mayfair started to get more politically involved and give more sort of political opinions in line with the sort of the obsequious pat on the back kind of position. I've got two little snapshots here from Mayfair. So the first, same year, months apart, July 25th, 1914. This issue had good things to say about Kaiser Wilhelm, the peacemaker. It must be recognized that another of the most powerful influences working for peace has been the German Emperor. So that was August 1st. August 15th, the Kaiser is labeled the assassin, cartooned with gouts of blood issuing from his eyes and mouth.
Nice image.
And that's kind of probably the way it's going to go for the next 4 years. A month later, there's a story about German spy peril in England. German spies have been arrested wholesale. We know that one was discovered with a supply of bacilli of typhoid germs, enough to capacitate a whole army corps. In Paris, German waiters have poisoned the food of the customers that are attending. So the whole baby bayonet brigade of bullshit.
Bye, Rosemary. We have lost someone from the YouTube chat. Wake up and smell the rosemary. So, Rosemary. Night, Rosemary. Catch you later. Thank you for visiting. I hope you had fun about in Maundy Gregory and stuff. So, well, bye, my dear.
If anybody is actually picking up my YouTube stream, please do let me know. Just, send a comment, even if it's to call me a dork. So at some point during the war, Maundy kind of got into employment with MI5. So, I mean, just from my memory, MI5 at this stage, who had just recently been called MI5, they were previously MO5G, and about 6 years before the war, their tactics involved sitting in tea shops, hoping to hear somebody with a foreign accent. With the war, seriously, they were a small organization with absolutely no effing clue at all. Just making stuff up, right? I mean, when the war hit, they got ramped up with a full office pool, really sort of industrial level organization. But pre-war, it was just messing about. So Verdun Kell, who was the founder of MI5 and also a devout churchman, which Maundy, being raised as a son of a churchman, might have been able to appeal to him. Kell seemingly approached Maundy to make use of his network because through Mayfair he had built up a lot of connections in the city. A lot of people were coming to him, and
I guess he would have.
And I see the use of the phrase "made use of his detective agency." So I think this was another sort of kind of theatrical purpose Maundy was putting out there. Stories he told included standing in for Winston Churchill in danger of an assassination attempt. They resembled one another, 5 foot 8 inches and toes in a room. But that tale ends when he rises to make a toast on behalf of HM government. Right, bit of a tall story guy.
My God,
nonetheless,
this would have been when Churchill was in the Liberals then.
Yeah, right enough. Yeah, he at some point he left. He was unhappy with what was going on, and he did his kind of retirement. I mean, I think he and Lloyd George worked together quite frequently. They did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or actually, didn't Churchill cross the floor?
He crossed the floor to the Tories, essentially. So literally simply crossed the floor. So that for those who don't know, so whoever was in government, so there's the government benches, which are usually on the left-hand side of the chamber, and you cross to the opposition benches, which are on the right. Or if you orientate it from where the speaker sits, you cross from the right of the chamber, whereas at the government benches, and you cross to the left where the opposition sits, essentially. But if the way we look at it, the way it gets broadcast to us plebs, they literally cross the chamber. It's happened a few times in history. People have crossed the chamber, they mostly to leave the I'm trying to think what one would be the most common. The scum from the Tory Labour, or from the scum to like what is now the Liberal Democrats, which don't come into being for fucking decades at this point. So the Liberals are about to die at this point because Churchill crossed the chamber, which means he showed no faith in his government and his party. So the Liberal Democrats didn't actually rise until about the late 1980s. So there's many different forms of them. 22 during the partition, and you get the 6 counties in the north, Ulster essentially, but not all of Ulster, oddly enough. So they're about to come into being essentially, advocating for home rule, blah blah blah. Then you get the Republic. So that was basically a coffin nail for the Liberals, and to actually promote the partition essentially in the early 1922.
Well, that's a nice segue into where we are time-wise,
Yeah.
and next, because in 1916 you have the Easter Rising, which in itself didn't. I mean, it was essentially the response to the Easter Rising by the British, which pretty much said that the partition of Ireland, the granting of independence to the south, was pretty much a sure thing. In 1917, Maundy Gregory, he couldn't get out of being in the war, so he was in the Irish Guards. Somehow, I don't know what the link with Ireland is, but he was in the Army Reserves, and he was a sort of a short, paunchy, bespectacled figure.
Brilliant soldier.
He was he was allegedly still making phone calls to Vernon Kell of MI5, reporting any sort of foreign-looking suspects that were.
I want to know what
I'd
love to know what their metrics were for foreign-looking. Please describe what he means. What the foreign-looking, because technically some of us do look foreign-looking, even though we're fully British or UK citizens, or well, I class myself as Scottish. So foreign-looking is a weird classification of just. Yeah, you're going to need to give us citation on that Monday. Thanks. Or the head of MI5.
One thing that comes up is someone who had an office on the site of the army base was an Australian engineer and inventor of a hand grenade who spoke German well, and he was suspected of being a spy. So,
but he was Australian. He was an imperial citizen. Just saying.
Yeah. Worth saying,
it's just it's weird.
So Gregory claimed to be a Secret Service agent and asked that while in this sort of Army Reserves barrack, and asked to be kept abreast of incoming and outgoing phone calls.
Okay.
And from time to time, he would call this number. Somebody would make a message. It says here, he was always courteous, though he had a pompous and grand manner and an air of mystery. When he got out of the army, when the war ended, he essentially switched to the magazine Mayfair would have died, and he essentially rebirthed it as the Whitehall Gazette. Just for a bit, it was printed on thick, expensive paper, featherweight antique wove, double royal 90. layout and typography to make it look like carried an appeal for the King George Fund for Sailors on its inside cover. Colour portraits of members of the royal family from time to time. Other public service type advertisements which suggested official patronage related to Treasury bonds, the sale of surplus government stores and the Officers Association, the latter being an appeal over the signature of Earl Haig. Priced at £0.50 a copy, its 1,000 circulation, quite small, was distributed freely. Politicians concluding that their club, such as a foreign service club or embassy, had a subscription to it. Thus, so this was all bluff. It was getting this magazine into the private places, and it gained this reputation of being a reputable journal. People, if you find it in your embassy or your, say, the National Liberal Club, people believed it reflected government opinion.
That place again.
Yeah. Actually, I might want to rewind a little bit because I should probably talk about I've talked about the pre-war stuff, because there were a few very, very sort of odd things that came up. Let's see. So, I mean, he was in the Liberal Club as part of Mayfair Town and Topics, along with them, worked together on a few deals. I mean, I guess it was this time, sort of bottomly, although he was going to the lowest common denominator, he was trying to push this idea of himself as the man that Number 10 should be listening to. And this was kind of Maundy's trajectory as well. They came into the orbit of a guy called Victor Grayson, who was a very left-wing Labour MP, and very, very sad kind of story. So I'm just going to try and so he in 1907, Victor Grayson stood as an independent Labour candidate in Colne Valley, West Yorkshire by-election. Actually, this wouldn't have been that far from where Maundy Gregory was born, who was just in Yorkshire on the Scottish border.
Right.
So.
Hang on, I'll just pause you a second there. By the way, the constituencies back then were completely different to what they are now. Subsequent boundary commissions have changed. They've literally changed the electoral landscape of the UK. It's difficult to do the ones up here. Don't get me wrong, they still have fucked with the boundary, the constituency borders up here. But what they've done to England is fucking wild throughout the century, basically from like just before the First World War right up until the very day since the last boundary commission got done just before the general election 2 years ago. So they're very, very different to what we have now back then. So it's weird taking a look at what they've done to the boundary commissions over the years. I have done that before just for myself. I might actually cover it on a stream and show how the constituency map has changed basically from like the turn of the century, which I'm talking about like 1900s onwards to the very day. It's mad. They can't, the way they've changed London is basically since it expands and different constituencies come into being. But other ones are really fucking old. They've been there for fucking ages and they've changed them completely to what they are now. It's mental. It's not like they're trying to get the preferred fucking constituents to vote, is it? Not that that ever fucking happens. Yeah. I don't know if they've changed yours much, Andy, over there. They probably have.
Yeah, there was a lot of boundary rigging. I mean, during before the Troubles and during the Troubles, and
Yeah.
I mean, post Good Friday Agreement, not so much. A few changes, but it's been fairly stable.
At least that's something.
Yeah, I think it was mostly the 1950s through to the 1970s. It's settled down a lot since then.
That tracks.
Actually, I'll leave Grayson aside for the moment and just talk a bit more about the Whitehall Gazette.
Cool.
Because it was pretty much that sort of let's see, kind of instilling that belief that it was a reputable journal, that it reflected government opinion, perhaps, because it was sort of places it was being seen, the sort of people who were in those places to pick it up. I mean, these would have been ambassadors, MPs, the lords, maybe private bankers clubs. So they believed it reflected government opinion, and a number of them, notably the Spanish, Italian, and Swedish embassies, bought special supplements. From its beginning, it stated its conduct to be oh, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, yes, there was a kind of stuff, anti-Semitism and racism running through the veins of this thing, but also that same sort of narcissistic appeal. Various articles included, and these will sound familiar if you were here 10 minutes ago, the Court of St. James, the Embassies and Foreign Affairs, the Empire, British Enterprise, the Services, and the Clubs. And officials I have met, which was over a third businessmen and industrialists of the war profit. A third was members of Parliament, civil servants, and other senior dignitaries. And the balance was exotics such as princes and maharajas. Some people got a free puff piece.
Hi, Mr. E.
Hi, Mr. E. Some people got a free puff piece, a free ride to make the magazine look respectable. So the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Dean of Westminster, the Astronomer Royal, the Comptroller to the Duke of York. I didn't realize we had comptrollers. I thought that was an American thing. The Marshal of the Diplomatic Forces, the Commissioner.
Oh no! They got them from us.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
They were basically, they were basically functionaries in the British government.
Oh.
We left them all behind. They're basically called chief parliamentary civil servants, head civil servants. So that changed over in the intervening years between the two wars, essentially. So we changed, and that's when what we class as a modern chief civil servant, Rosse, essentially got instituted by the government. Ramsay MacDonald, maybe? So so in the 1920s, the late 1920s, 26 or 27, I believe. So yeah, that's when you got chief civil servants, essentially in charge of each of the different departments that you've got in Westminster. Yeah, they got them from us. We'd been using them for fucking 150, 180 years. So like the 1770s or something, up until about the mid 1920s, essentially. So that sort of time period. And they basically took them on. They're mostly in urban, so like large cities, essentially. They're basically the people in charge of the money. They used to report to like the Chancellor, because they were the ones who dealt with all the funding for departments and things. It's quite fun. The houses of the palaces of Westminster are archaic as fuck. We've been doing the same fucking thing for centuries. It needs fixed, including the House of Commons. The palaces of Westminster need fixed. But yeah, that's what they got. They basically nicked it from us.
The comptroller to the Duke of York. Other people that didn't have to pay for the nice things to be written about them were the Marshal of the Diplomatic Corps, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, and the Chairman of the BBC, which I guess would have been right back at the start.
Yeah.
So Tom Cullen, I think is his name, is Maundy's wrote one of the leading texts about Maundy Gregory. He writes, so these were a useful way of sounding out prospects for titles. Colin noted Gregory was psychologically quite acute with Coote's connection to the whip's office. He perceived it would be fatal to recruit him as a tout or a confidant, which is exactly where Maundy Gregory was going. He formed alliances with Bill Sutherland, who I think was Lloyd George's chief whip, or it would have been Bronco Bill Sullivan, and Frederick Guest, who I'm pretty sure was a sir. But in any case, Guests and Sutherland and Maundy were involved in the 1919 New Year's Honours List. So a bulk of the recommendations for the press, the trade, and capitalists, and I mean both Guest and Sutherland had their kind of, they weren't sure that it was a good idea to be for sort of knighthoods and such like. So, I mean, as I said earlier, this was pretty much, Sale of Honours had been done for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I suppose technically it wasn't a criminal thing. It just wasn't very nice. But Maundy kind of blew this up to all proportions, kind of shattering this idea that an honour was something you got if you deserved it, which hadn't been the way.
You're meant to get everyone. You're meant to get an honour for outstanding service to either the empire or to the government or to the country, essentially. But no. These people were literally selling them, and you could buy your way into landed gentry, essentially. Delightful. I want to burn it all down. Thank you. A staunch anti-imperialist here, so we should have no landed gentry. But getting rid of that aspect of the British society is going to be an uphill struggle, to say the least. But yeah, these people were literally doing it just to sway votes, get their way in the House of Commons, and to make preferential speeches in the other place, the House of Lords. Yeah, being able to buy that stuff is no. It's bad enough that the House of Lords fucking exists. Being able to buy your way into it, get wrecked. Just fuck off. These people are scum. And the people that should be in there, your lass. Obviously, I would never take a peerage.
Yeah. So Maundy was pretty much selling honours between 1916 and 1922. And Lloyd George became Prime Minister in a coalition government in 1916. So
with the Tories.
With the Tories. And so that's really important because although Maundy is often referred to as Lloyd George's honours tout or broker, which he certainly was, that money that was going, the Lloyd George's cut, or the Liberal Party's cut of that money from honours, that was split 50-50 with the Tories. So that's worth keeping in mind. So because we're a bit, I'm a bit sort of ill prepared tonight, a bit all over the place, we might bounce around this period of honours sales a bit.
Cool.
It's worth noticing. This is from Maguire in Paris. A price list for honours offered knighthoods at £10,000. A baronetcy would set you back £30,000 dearer because it was a hereditary title, and a peerage cost upwards of £50,000. I've got some notes on
bloody hell,
how much those are worth. Well, I mean, how do you put value on a hereditary title? But translating it into today's figures, we're talking like easily over $1 million.
50,000 would probably be between 1 and 1.5, maybe 1.4 or something ridiculous, which is you shouldn't be able to buy it. Baronetcy is basically you've been in control of this land, this area, blah blah blah, for centuries. They came over in the Norman Conquest in 1066, blah blah blah. But no, these people were literally selling these. But you shouldn't be able to do that because you had to establish, to get a coat of arms, you have to show lineage to prove that you'd been in this area, essentially. It used to happen a lot that used to buy those sort of things up here in Scotland. Hence, we don't actually own all the land up here. Private bastards own the land. And we've tried to change that here in Scotland, but because of the royal family, we got blocked. And a lot of people thought, oh, they've bought all their land reform changes. No, the fucking royal family blocked us. They wouldn't give it royal assent, and basically told the Scottish government, the Scottish Parliament, the people of Scotland, where to fucking go. So a lot of these peerages were bought using Scottish lands and different in parts of like the northeast of England and stuff. Because trying to get ones down south where people had been established for, like I keep on saying, centuries is difficult. But ones up north and here in Scotland, because we didn't have the Enclosure Act, our land is open and free. We can go wherever we fucking want, as long as we don't damage it in any sort of fashion. But yeah, because of the Enclosure Act, trying to get these sort of landed peerages essentially rather difficult because of the Enclosure Act. Fun.
Yeah.
They still try to do it.
I mean, it's at this point that sort of what Maundy Gregory is doing is, taking this sort of making people into more than they are as a kind of a facade, and actually making them more than they are. I mean, he was still employing those cartoonists and those writers of puff pieces and charging for the puff pieces, but this was whereas before it had been the funnel to pipe himself into high society, now it was the funnel for taking a cut of fixing up people with peerages. So this period, between December 1916 and I guess 1922, George, Gregory, and others sold over 1,500 knighthoods.
Bloody hell.
What's in the year's honours list? Is that about 100 or?
It depends. It's usually between 70 and 100. It depends.
Right.
Ones who actually get put in the other place, there's usually like 15 of them at most, but there's other peerages that get handed out. Ones who don't go and sit in the other place, but they still get peerage, essentially. It's a different class of peerage. But about 15 of them usually go into the other place. Basically, legislators. So that's basically what this is seen as, a compromise position that you get named in the New Year's honours list. So that's the ones you get from the monarch, whoever the monarch is currently, drug-eared bugger, or if you want to call them, sausage fingers. So you get them. That's the New Year's honours list. They usually get published early December-ish. And when a prime minister changes over after a general election, the outgoing prime minister gets to name people as well to put them into the other place. And that's usually about 10-ish. So on the whole, when it's a new prime minister coming in, the last one, so in some years we've had like 30 people put in the other place. And oddly enough, the majority of them, Tory scum. Delightful. That and them and the Lib Dems, and there's a few Labour peers. There is one Green peer, Jenny Jones. No SNP. We don't take places. The SNP don't take places in the other place. We think it shouldn't exist. And it's the same for the Scottish Greens, by the way. The other place shouldn't exist. Deeply undemocratic. And this sort of shit keeps on happening.
Yeah.
Fucking make a change, please.
I mean, what struck me when I was just revising for this tonight is this sort of Maundy Gregory and his kind of generation of honours brokers were pretty much responsible for a lot of, when they're handing out hereditary titles, there's still a lot, that has trickled down to today. It's still, there are people that are lords and ladies, and it's because Maundy Gregory sold their great grandparents honours. So I mean, this period, this sort of 6 or 7 year period, Lloyd George bestowed a total of 91 peerage titles.
1920 is going to be roughly.
Yeah, 1916 to 1922.
So in that sort of period.
So 91 peerage titles. So that was twice as many as had been created in the previous 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's
fucking hell.
Through the roof. God, looked like
just
a Nazi salute. Just kaboom.
There's going to be no more. I don't know when the change happened. It's sort in the last 30 years. So you've got your 96 hereditary, who are your landed bastards, essentially. There is 96 of them. And what used to happen when whoever was one of the hereditary peers before this legislation came in, if they croaked it, whoever their second was, whoever was inheriting from them, usually a son, oddly enough, not that the patriarchy exists, but yes, they're not allowed it. If that hereditary peer dies, it doesn't get replaced. So over basically the last 96 who are currently still in the House of Lords, they'll just start dying off because the youngest of them, basically my age, 47. So he's 40, 48, I think the youngest one is. So he's going to be the last one, essentially. So I've left 40, 15 years maybe? I don't know. So the natural attrition of these hereditary bastards just dying off. We'll lose them all. There's life peers who are basically appointed by either the New Year's honour list or the outgoing Prime Minister. And they're only there until they croquet, or they have to resign, oddly enough. Funny how we're talking about that, a life peer having to leave. So I want them to all do it. Don't get me wrong, there's people who have taken their peerages and into the place saying, I'm going to change it from within, because the impetus you'd need to actually reform the fucking other place, incredibly difficult. You'd need the House of Commons on your side. And I don't see any Westminster party doing that at all, ever.
If you ever seen me on political streams or videos, you know I'm always banging on about the power of the media and how we should hold the media to account as much as the government, if not more so. And this goes seriously back to media. I mean, there's a quote here from E2 that not everyone was required to pay for peerages and honours, as around 50 or so honours were thrown in the direction of Fleet Street. All the leading newspaper owners, such as William Astor, Viscount Astor, Maxwell Aitken, Baron Beaverbrook, Alfred Harnsworth, Viscount Northcliffe, and his brother Harold Sidney Harnsworth, Viscount Rothermere, found themselves raised to the peerage, thus ensuring that the press were inclined to turn a blind eye to the whole affair. Now, I've got a little quote from one of the letters that Maundy Gregory's office would have sent out to the people on his mailing list. About honours, there are only so many left this year, and your next government is unlikely to give so many honours.
Andy.
Yeah.
Andy, rejoice for Scribby. He does this for me a lot. Thanks, Scribby. In 1916, according to the inflation calculator that I and Super Hubby use quite a lot, 50,000 from then is now 3.8.
Wow.
That is, oh God. And 50,000 in 1920 works out, fuck it, I'll round that up and just basically say 2 million. That's fucked.
Well,
so they're literally giving millions to get these peerages. Fucking hell. Scrubby, thank you. Very much appreciated. To capitalist bastards. That's mad. How the hell did they have all that fucking capitalism? Why do they have all that money? Fuck it.
It said Lloyd, one of the figures I saw in front of me is that Lloyd George made about 2 million from the sale of honours. That's the figure for that day. So God knows what that translates as currently.
Just going on pure multipliers, that would probably be about 20 million. Roughly, maybe between 15 and 20 million. We'll take a happy middle and say 17 million, 17 and a half, which is mental for a bullet. Really puts things into perspective, the amount of money they were throwing around to get these peerages back then. Bloody hell. Just what? Why do we trust these people? Just mental. I will say to you, carry on. I won't be hearing you because the Wi-Fi function is a minute. I'll get it fixed for tomorrow night's stream. Carry on, Andy. I'll be back momentarily. Thank you.
I am going to. I've got another 5 or 10 minutes here, and I'm going to take a little break myself. So, do you want to? We'll work it in shifts. Do you want to take?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can update Katie when she gets back. So the I mean, one of the things Maundy Gregory got into back during the war was allegedly faking the casement diaries, so the diaries that came up I'll just read out the quote here. So these were graphic descriptions of homosexual acts, which came up in Sir Roger Casement's trial. British agents circulated the contents ahead of his trial so that he would not become a martyr for the Irish cause. But it was believed by this independent Labour MP, Victor Grayson, that Maundy Gregory, who already at this time had links to security and intelligence services, had forged these diaries. And what's more, Grayson suspected that Maundy Gregory had planted them in a trunk at Casement's old lodgings, where they were found by the British authorities. So that was about 1916. That would have been when Casement was put on trial. But already by sort of early 1920, these seals of honours were going out to some really unreputable people getting honours. Was it Roland Hodge, who had featured back in 1912 as Mayfair Man of the Day, number 106. In April 1918, he was convicted under the Defence of the Realm Act and fined £600 plus costs for food hoarding during the war at his home in Gosforth. And I don't want. I'm not going to relay the whole what was found at his home, but there was quite a lot. Just off the top of my head, 25 tins of sardines, 19 tins of salmon, 61 tins of preserved fruits. This wasn't a case of just buying too much. So he was made a baronet for public services in connection with shipbuilding. He tried to, when the Conservatives were in power, Roland Hodge had tried to get an honour from them, but Sir George Younger just sort of said that he was so brave, made up his mind to have nothing more to do with Roland Hodge. Whiskey distiller Sir John Stewart paid Maundy £50,000 for a baronetcy, which was granted in June 1920 for unspecified public services. Apparently, vital data was withheld from the King about Sir John Stewart, and his financial position was such that the £50,000 later had to be refunded out of the Lloyd George fund. Another one was Joseph the Buccaneer Robinson, who had also previously appeared as the Mayfair Town and Topics Man of the Day, number 78. Sounds like a naughty pin-up kind of thing. Joseph the Buccaneer had been involved in gold mining and literally his gold mine had to be liquidated.
Hello, Andy.
Hello, welcome back.
Thank you.
He had been fined 500,000 by the South African Supreme Court in connection with fraud around these gold mines. So, I mean, this was seen by the Chief Webb, and he was selected for a baronetcy, and he even might chalk Maundy Gregory down from 50,000 to 30,000. So yeah, Sir John Drughorn, who, though a judge said was of a good character, had been convicted of trading with the enemy in 1915. And yeah, there's a bit more about Robinson. Checkbook out. How much more? When he was told he would have to backtrack. I cannot now live in South Africa, and it will be said that I could not face charges against me in the House of Lords. So yeah, it appears that Robinson, the gold mining mass fraudster, had maybe had his honor removed from him. But so Katie, I don't know if you heard, I was just talking about wartime food hoarders who had been criminal conviction for that. Somebody with a criminal conviction for something or other, that unspecified public service, criminal conviction for defrauding the South African government with a very dodgy gold mine. All being considered for baronetcies, and some of them getting them. So,
Christ's sake. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Dodgy gold mines.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take a wee loo break, and I'll leave you with Katie.
Cool. Thank you, Andy. I will be here. So you have to remember, everyone, this is, we still have an empire at this point. So literally trading in these peerages, although not common practice, it's not meant to happen. It's illegal. They shouldn't have been doing it. Essentially, these arch capitalists, these imperialists, these sons of empire, and all those other terms you care to think of. Feel free to post them in the chat what you would call these people, obviously. But literally defrauding and hiding your wealth from whatever government you live in. South Africa connection. Fun. Okay, Robinson, checkbook. How much more when he was told he would have to backtrack? I cannot now live in South Africa, and it will be said that I could not face the charges against me in the House of Lords. Good. You're a crook. You're a swindler. Literally profiting off people's work and things of that nature. Yeah. You shouldn't be able to do that. Nah. Getting into the other place due to being good for your country or whatever. But no, these people just rather buy their way in. Usually at other people's great expense. Blech. My God, isn't it fun having an empire, Andy?
Oh, I don't know. Can I have one, please?
Really, with a shred of to his Lord Birkenhead, the then Chancellor, penned his letter to the Prime Minister. I am now an old man to whom honours and dignities are no longer matters of much concern. Good, fuck off then. I should be sorry if any honour conferred upon me were the occasion for such ill feeling as was manifested in the House of yesterday. Sounds like he got booed. And while deeply appreciating the honour which has been suggested, I would wish, if I may, without discourtesy to yourself and without impropriety, to beg His Most Gracious Majesty permission to decline the whole proposal. My God, someone actually done something correct. Who'd have thunk it? So some of them are, don't get me wrong, none of them are decent, but at least some of them realise, yeah, I'm not going to fucking do it. People already fucking hate me, I don't even make it worse. George was infuriated, and strong words with Lloyd George about the Crown being protected from similar painful, if not humiliating, incidences. A bit too late.
So
Gregory stayed well out of the way. Gregory stayed well out of the way while all this was going down. Slinking back into the shadows, are you, Maundy? The tariff had been read out in the Lords, and there was a hint that a brokerage system was in place. Of course there fucking was.
yeah, I mean, I've read accounts of this as kind of like, yeah, like a price of, what do you say, for like a price list or something? Yeah, there may still be some surviving documentation of this. I mean, one of the key facts I've just run across again is this was the very reason that the OBE was invented, because of Maundy Gregory. I mean, Lloyd George was running people like Maundy Gregory and stuff to amass money from the honours sales to build up his war chest. It's called the Lloyd George Fund. But, this went on much beyond it. So, Maundy Gregory awarded, oh fuck, I can't believe this. Maybe somebody should go and verify this. 25,000 OBEs in 4 years. That doesn't look right. That's probably more likely 25,000 honours, or 2,500. But essentially, we have the OBE today because of Maundy Gregory and selling honours everywhere, and because Lloyd George needed money to fight the First World War. I mean, there was a bit of a wartime crisis known as the Shell Crisis, and it went back to British troops not having enough munitions, not having proper boots, not having proper protective clothing, and it seriously damaged the government. I can't remember if it was Lloyd George's government or it was like the first task he had to fight as coming in as Prime Minister. But it was a huge scandal at the time. So, yeah. Let's see.
Oh, no, wrong one.
Yeah, so I want to kind of segue into the sad story of Victor Grayson, which kind of comes to a head around the end of 1920. So let's see. Grayson was a left-wing firebrand, and it's not known everything that happens about him. I don't even know if there's a good sort of biography about Grayson. And so all we really have is little jigsaw pieces that we sort of have to push together. One of the things that was known about him was that 10 years on from being being elected in the Colne Valley, that he was drinking. He was drinking heavily. And by the time he and his wife, in 1917, him and his wife got back from a holiday abroad, and Grayson developed a close friendship with Maundy Gregory. I don't know if there was any kind of, and Gregory, for the note, was gay. So I don't know if there was anything there, or it was something more different. Maybe Grayson had been kind of charmed or hypnotized by Maundy's creation of a parliamentary mise-en-scene around him.
Yeah.
But whatever happened, I mean, Grayson had always kind of. So we know Grayson was hanging about with Maundy and also, I mean, Horatio Bottomley as well to some extent. The few of them had a few meetings between them. Grayson was generally always, he was poor. He was really struggling financially. And
Andy, I just went and checked. I've actually got it from Debrett's, oddly enough. No, the 25,000 is correct.
Fuck. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Clarence.
That's
mental.
Bloody nuts. Yeah, it was 25,000, and it led to like the Honours Prevention of Abuses Act 1925, essentially. So it took them a while to actually get it sorted. So Royal Commission started in 1922, and it got basically concluded 3 years later. So yeah, it was 25,000. Thanks to Brett. That's mental.
So
what the
yes.
Victor Grayson.
Yes. So suddenly late in so Grayson was like really poor, and suddenly late in 1920 he started living extravagantly, no worries. He was having lots of drinks. He was living in a luxurious apartment. The rent was being paid for him, apparently. And then one night he let's see, hold on. Yes, here we go. Yeah, do you mind if I just read this bit out?
Yeah, carry on.
So Sir Basil Thompson, head of the special branch, asked Gregory to spy on leading socialist MP Victor Grayson, former MP for Colne Valley. Grayson held left-wing views and was suspected of working as agent for the new communist government in Russia. So this appears to be 1918, when Gregory is still doing this sort of wartime spy ring detective thing. So it was feared that Grayson might have been working for the IRA. Victor Grayson discovered that Gregory was spying on him and decided to do some research into the spy's background. With the help of some important friends, Grayson found out that the Prime Minister, Lloyd George, was using Grayson to sell political honours. At a public meeting in Liverpool, Grayson accused Lloyd George of corruption. He claimed that Lloyd George was selling political honours for between £10,000 and £40,000. Grayson declared, "This sale of honours is a national scandal. It can be traced right to 10 Downing Street and to a monocled dandy with offices in Whitehall. I know this man, and one day I will name him." So Gregory was very clearly the monocled dandy, and this kind of let Gregory know that he was in danger of being exposed. Another thing that I mentioned when you were away, Katie, was that Victor Grayson suspected Maundy Gregory of forging the notorious diaries of Sir Roger Casement, Irish nationalist sympathiser involved in Easter Rising, hung for treason. So it's the chronology I have in front of me is a little bit all over the place. In the beginning of September 1920, Victor Grayson was beaten up in the Strand. And the writer on Spartacus.com suggests this was probably an attempt to frighten him, but that he continued to make speeches about the selling of honours and threatening to name the man behind this corrupt system. And one night he was out drinking with friends later that month, September 1920, and was told he got a telephone call, said he had to go to the Queen's Hotel in Leicester Square and he'd be back shortly. And there was a painter, George Flemwell, who knew Victor, and he was out on the riverbank painting a picture. He previously painted Victor's portrait, but he saw Grayson go into this house on the riverbank. An investigation carried out in the 1960s revealed that this house was owned by Maundy Gregory, but essentially Grayson was never seen alive again. There's various beliefs that he was murdered, but his body was never found, that he was working abroad. There have been alleged sightings in London, Australia, Moscow, on board a furniture ship in South London.
What?
Yeah, so this comes from
Curious.
a report in 1985 in the Huddersfield Examiner, which I'm very skeptical about, but it's worth sharing as well. It's surmised that the Conservative Party might have helped Grayson to disappear because he was under threat, that he changed his name and was running this ship. And yeah, the only reason I give any kind of notice to that, I mean, it seems highly unlikely the Conservative Party would do anything for anybody, but the Conservative Party were just as much at risk as Lloyd George was. Because,
yeah, they were.
If it had come out that Maundy Gregory and Lloyd George were running this scam, they were next. So yeah, might be worth talking a bit just before we go on to the next, Gregory's private life, because I think it sort of, so his sort of link to aesthetics, how he lived and how he looked, were sort of the magnet that pulled in a lot of these upper class figures. So in 1910, when he was still a theatre producer, he had befriended a married couple of actors, Fred and Edith Rosse, or Rosse, and I'm probably going to call them Rosse because that's how they are in my head. I mean, they later, Maundy moved in with them, but they later divorced, and he continued to live with Edith. As he said, he was gay, so it was just a very platonic friendship between the two of them. I think she was a good few years older than him. Maundy would also hang out at the Ambassador Club in London, which was a very sort of Westminster kind of bar, restaurant. I mean, the Prince of Wales went there regularly. So that gives you an idea of the type of clientele it would attract. Right. He didn't like to sit too near the orchestra, apparently. It was run by a guy called Peter Mazzina, who was Maundy managed to worm his way into, and they became very good friends. I mean, the building is still there. It's now, the Ambassador Club is now the headquarters of the Royal Society of Painters in watercolor in the Westminster region. And you'd also portraits of dignitaries up there, and dining room with classic Greek columns, gallery running around three sides. All this kind of sort of club members were always given crisp new banknotes and change. The food included frog's legs, Rouen duck, and Avignon asparagus, being flown from the continent daily by Imperial Airways. Lots of champagne and stuff. And so Maundy did a lot of his socializing there, and a lot of his probably recruiting as well for the government. Another aspect which certainly will, even retroactively by allusion, give you an insight into how Maundy dressed himself. He and Edith moved house into Abbey Lodge, which had a grand piano on every floor, a set of tap drums. He and Edith had unisex versions of the same clothes. Quote from when I bought myself a fur coat, I bought Edith one too. She was drinking quite heavily and appeared to be one of those middle-aged women who dote on homosexuals. Maundy took her to many places: Henley, Ascot, garden parties at Buckingham Palace. There was a cocktail shaker in Abbey Lodge, so you could pour their martinis or Manhattans. They were the first in the area to own the monstrosity of the Hollywood cocktail cabinet. On Guy Fawkes night, they'd build a big bonfire in the backyard, invite all the neighborhood children. He'd entertain them with ventriloquist acts. They'd throw regular parties. They had guests come over. So we mentioned that, didn't we? Was it last time we mentioned Horatio Bottomley's link to Lionel Logue, who was the Australian-born Harley Street speech therapist who cured King George VI of his stammering. So Logue and his partner Myrtle were frequently at the bridge games at Abbey Lodge and his other property. So Abbey Lodge, you know Abbey Lodge. Abbey Lodge is where the Beatles' famous recording studio was.
Yeah, Abbey Road now,
That's the same building. So, yeah, fuck. Ooh, uncomfortable shivers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't look into anything in Britain, especially in London. You're going to. It's going to be the history of it's going to be shady as fuck, man. It's the same up here in the Merchant City in Glasgow. The reason it's called the Merchant City, obviously, you know about the triangle trade. So, like slaves, cotton, molasses. So, go west coast of Africa, get people, transport them across the ocean to do cotton, sugar, then use that money to do they changed the industrial base in the homeland. So that was the triangle trade. And the Merchant City here in Glasgow is basically where all these wealthy these entrepreneurial people back in the Empire days and all that bollocks. So the Merchant City is filled with buildings like these. They're all municipal. They're mostly retail now. Like they've changed into like upper class shops, like your Versace, Dolce & Gabbana shops. Some of them are restaurants. Some of them are venues where like small time markets, Hogmanay parties happening. One which is called the Treat. The Merchant City Hall, things like that. So much marble and everything, like the council chambers here in Glasgow. the reason they had all that is because all the money from the triangle trade was coming into this city. Just fucking make it end, please. So yeah, the same in Edinburgh, basically in Newtown, these townhouses in the old and new towns in Edinburgh were built using that money. One trying to finagle their way out of debt, buying grand old houses that had been built in 16 and 1700s. So managed to sell Peerages like different areas here in Glasgow. Didn't he? Do some more research into it. But yeah, so you've got these sort of different merchant parts of the great cities of empire here, Birmingham, definitely down in London, parts of Liverpool as well.
Yeah, some ghosts.
It really is quite
Ghosts and
infuriating.
buildings, yeah. He had another property called Vanity Fair off the Thames, I believe, which was a little more a boathouse. No main drains. There's an electric canoe and a motor launch. A little garden running down to the Thames on the Middlesex side. So he had Lionel Logue and his partner over there. They also had a hotel. I think it was called Deepdene Hotel in Dorking in Surrey, which essentially became like a brothel for the rich and powerful to have. Well, I mean, I might be exaggerating, maybe not, but it was essentially it definitely had a reputation as a place for extramarital affairs. For those of a high class, it was a fairly cemented reputation. So, yeah. I mean, with those classes, I see around the whole Epstein thing, you know what? A brothel isn't out of the question for these people.
I try not to kink shame or anything, but certain things are illegal for obvious reasons. Vis-a-vis Epstein.
I mean, as Kevin and Helena made the point in their video, in their stream just before this on Mandelson, the only reason Mandelson wasn't named more prominently in the Epstein files as a sex abuser was because he was gay. And there may be things that we don't. Well, there are things that we don't know about Mandelson's involvement with that side of things. So yeah.
The fact that we saw him in his fucking underwear is bad enough. Yeah, we don't need to be seeing images like that. Thanks.
It's a Sunday now. Yeah, you know, it's God's day. God sees everything. He doesn't want to see. She doesn't want to see Mandelson in her underwear.
We can't TOS and everything, but we don't know. They're going through these 3 million fucking pages. That is going to take a while. We don't, as of today, we don't know anything if Mandelson got up to anything illegal. We don't know that yet. He might not have. Said I couldn't have done it. I'm a gay man. Still impropriety in public office, obviously. Taking money through your partner, because if he got it, you would have to declare it because he was in the other place. They're still held to the same standards as MPs. So you obviously know what members' interest is, don't you, Andy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they have to declare it. That's why a good portion of the money went to his then boyfriend and now husband. because he didn't need to declare it. He wasn't in the other place. He wasn't part of the British government. So you have to declare it. The whole scandal about that, which happened 25 years ago? I can't remember when it was. 25 years ago. And apparently it got more teeth and better teeth to police the expenses scandal, essentially. And that's why it's fair to they've changed it. It's been there's more scrutiny, there's more enforcement for MPs or lords who do not follow the new rules. But some of them still aren't following the fucking rules. We know that. It's been fucking published. But apparently this system has been overhauled and it's been made better. But yeah, it still happens. They still try to get away with everything, especially where their expenses are concerned. Yeah. So that was a cynical attempt. That one, I don't like it. The fact that they gave money to Mandelson's boyfriend at the time and not him because he'd need to declare it. Yes, deeply fucking cynical. Don't do that shit. These rules exist. So I would bring in the people's partners as well to make them declare it because they're still in the same fucking household. So that person in the British government are still profiting from that money. So it should be declared as far as I'm concerned, but I don't see any government actually doing that. Your last, deeply cynical, obviously. Yeah, this is a fallout from this time period, by the way, because they've been playing fast and loose essentially since then.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to remind myself a few times that Maundy Gregory wasn't actually an MP.
Mm-hmm.
He had tremendous power. So I mentioned the Ambassador Club a while. I neglected to mention and how he was center of attention there. I neglected to mention that Maundy Gregory owned the Ambassador Club. Peter Mazzina, I think, was either a co-owner or just his manager. And this club right in the heart of the city that attracted the Prince of Wales and Lord Birkenhead and all these massive critters.
No, carry on.
I'm trying to use that word more.
Yeah, swearing's allowed. Swearing's allowed, of course.
So he would have bought the Ambassador Club with all this money that, I mean, selling honours was his living. The Whitehall Gazette was running at a loss. It was only there to pull in people to sell honours to.
To facilitate that part of him sphere, essentially. So the club wasn't making money.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The magazine wouldn't have been making money. The club definitely was with the sort of patrons.
Oh, the club was. The magazine wasn't, right?
Yeah. I mean, you did have sort of, it wasn't all kind of people beyond reproach. I mean, you had proper scammers in there working as well. So one was Sir Warden Chilcot, who used his. Do you know him, or you just cursing?
Yeah, I recognise the name.
So he used his influence with Lord Birkenhead, who was then Secretary of State for India, to swindle a group of Indian princes out of £100,000. So that he could. The fund was to enable Chilcot to exercise his personal influence on the affairs of the princes in London. He had to resign in October 1928. But all the same, and although Lord Birkenhead found out what Chilcot had done and called him a stupid sewer rat, part of the money from running this scam went back to Maundy Gregory. So I don't know if Gregory had a hand in mastering it, or that was kind of the sort of the tax that got put upon him when he found out, like a blackmail kind of thing.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Lord Burke,
it seems eminently easy for him to do, oddly enough. So yeah. Imagine calling one of your fellow peers a sewer rat. Fucking brilliant. You're knights of the realm. You're meant to be above reproach. You don't call each other sewer rats, I thought.
Lord Birkenhead, also known as F.E. Smith Gregory, as a little squirt. However, Lord F.E. Smith, Lord Birkenhead, walked into Maundy's traps, eyes open. The two of them were in each other's pockets. Gregory just, Birkenhead always sort of racked up debts, bought way too much stuff. They played cards, and they there's a quote here. I think this is Maundy. What shall we play for next? F.E. Smith replied, "Your bloody place at Blenheim, if you like." Oh no, it would have been the other way, right? So they were gambling on big properties, and I mean, F.E. Smith, at the height of his overdraft, had a yacht, 6 motor cars, 3 chauffeurs, 8 horses and their grooms, a townhouse in Grosvenor Gardens and Charlton, his house in Oxfordshire. I mean, it's just this insanely sort of abusive opulence. Really horrible stuff. A quote from Maundy: "F.E. wants me to buy his yacht, but I don't want it. I've got 4 already." So
I've just typed Lord Birkenhead into one of the documents you've given me here that I've downloaded, and I'm just reading through it. So he emerged with a shred of dignity as Lord Birkenhead, then Chancellor, penned his letter to the Prime Minister. "I'm now an old man to whom honours and..." Oh, right, I've read this one.
Something that I think might be Eddie and myself are looking through 6 documents to kind of convey, because there's so much material in them. This string of lists of names of MPs and lords and all high society connections that Maundy Gregory was making. It's overwhelming, and there's no way we could summarize this without another like 6 hours of work.
There's no lines either.
It's so tough. Talking about the aesthetics, I mean, Maundy Gregory had his collections of homoerotic literature, sometimes a bit pedophiliac. He was after a sort of a lost masterpiece by the writer Corvo. Among the gifts he had a friendship with, I think it was A.J. Symonds, and managed to get him one of Mussolini's passports. Or maybe it was A.J. Symonds. Symonds sold it in auction in March 1937. The buyer was Ian Fleming. So a nice segue into talking about Maundy in the movies. If you've ever seen the Bogart film, The Maltese Falcon, there's a character in that, I can't remember the character's name, but essentially they are the fat man. They're only in a few scenes, but they're kind of like one of the the agents behind it. So the character of the fat man was a Goodsman. Maundy Gregory was said to be the influence on that character. So yeah. So the Ambassador Club and Abbey Lodge, there were regularly sort of banquets and parties. Lord Northcliffe would be there. Other various kind of high society figures. His Highness the Hetman of the Ukraine, Paul Skoropadsky, was a familiar figure there, and also a familiar figure at Nazi rallies in the 1920s. The Whitehall Gazette became the official organ of the Hetmanite movement in Britain, supported by a lot of right-wing people. Maundy was granted the Order of the White Rose in Finland, which led to his friendship with honorary member of the Ambassador Club, Werner von Alvensleben, a serious gossip to all who introduced Hitler to the senile President von Hindenburg. In November 1930, Gregory and Sir Horwood, who I think was Special Intelligence Services, attended a Berlin rally of von Alvensleben's anti-communist League for the Protection of Western European Culture. And of course that got a big positive, sports events in Berlin got a big positive write-up in the Whitehall Gazette. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it should really be no surprise of what side of the political spectrum they were on, but Maundy was on, but it was like worse than you imagine. It always is, isn't it? I guess, or
it is, yeah.
Like
yeah.
I don't know. I wonder, am I sort of so cynical now that I've seen it all and I can predict it all? And then I'm like, no, is it always just worse than I imagine? I don't know anymore. I see in my notes that at one point Maundy Gregory has pinched notepaper, stationery from Buckingham Palace to write letters on to impress his client.
Bloody hell.
So yeah.
That's rather naughty of him. I'm on chapter 10 of one of your notes. It starts with Colonel O.A. Harker, second in command to kill MI5, was taken to lunch at the Ambassador Club and noted Gregory with Effie and became immediately concerned. Brilliant.
Yeah. There was an awful lot of, even with him charming and creating the mise-en-scène again, there was an awful lot of concern. Honor sales were going through the roof, and there was some serious talk. People were realizing the public were going to find out the whole thing was going to come down on top of everyone. And there were those, of course, as well that had legitimate concerns about the ethics of what was happening, sincerely. So yeah, as much as it was kind of an open secret that attracted people, and I mean, Lloyd George was very specific about thinking it was the right thing to be doing. There were a lot of people really concerned, and that would bring things to the fore. There's a reference to the Deepdene Hotel in Dorking that Maundy owned, 17th century mansion with an orangery and an amphitheatre and a sculpture gallery. And essentially it was a place for a dirty weekend. And under the management of Maundy Gregory and Peter Mazzina, also the Ambassador Club, it became known as the biggest brothel in southeast England. Maundy also bought. I think this is I don't know if this is a magazine or a book, like an annual publication. Burke's Landed Gentry.
It's a book. It's like a publication, essentially. So Burke's Peerages, essentially. It's a list of all the people who have peerages, what holdings they have, blah, blah, blah. So that's basically you go to that and you can look up who owns thing here in this constituency or in this county or whatever, the shire, if you wish. So yeah, treat it like a Gazette, just basically a list of everyone who's anyone, essentially. So
yeah,
it still gets published.
There's a list.
So you can check out any of the peerages that exist here in the UK.
So Burke's Peerage was like a companion addition to Burke's Landed Gentry.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've been going for at this point 100 years. Both of them, I presume, but certainly Burke's Landed Gentry. He bought it on the cheap for less than £2,000.
Wow. It is cheap for what it is.
But the companion, the Burke's Peerage, Baronetage, and Knightbridge, he was outbid for at auction.
Yeah.
So God, so much of this still to get through. I'm knackered. I might take a wee rest my voice a moment.
We can end if you want, because I said to one of my main mod on Twitch that I would go over and visit her at some point, and just to see how she's doing and stuff. I'm a mod for her. It's Cranky Pants, by the way.
Oh.
You know Cranky Pants. Shanna's amazing. I love Shanna. She's great. So we can end here and we can take it up tomorrow. Well, technically today now because it's Monday.
Nope. Andy's got to be up for work at 6 in the morning. So let's try and speed it up and see if we can bring it to close within the next half hour. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So I mean, there were. I'm just seeing another. Do you know Mia Farrow's father? I think was offered a renewal by Gregory. So he as he was he started offering religious titles. Chancellor of the Order of the Holy Sepulchre in the British Empire, the Knight Grand Cross of the Order. Essentially, he was, he just was kind of selling all around him. And essentially what happened was, I think it was Lieutenant Commander Edward Billiard Leake. Maundy approached him about selling in honours, and Leake was a very sort of respectable, kind of upright man, and had no sort of quarter, but he let on that he was interested and kind of played along with Maundy's ruse, and then reported him to Scotland Yard. And I think Leake might have carried on at some point, sort of in some kind of undercover capacity, helping get Maundy into a sting. Essentially, so this must have been after 1925, because what happened in 1925, you have the law comes in, prevention of the sale of honours, and this was very much a response to, like at this point we're 7 or 8 years into people charged with food hoarding during the war, and gold mining fraudster being given baronetcies, and it's just blown up. So there was such a kind of issue around this, and although and also it was a major contributory factor to Lloyd George quitting the premiership. It wasn't the issue, but I mean, you know, if you think of Boris Johnson going with Chris Pincher, you know, that triggered stuff. I mean, Chris Pincher was just the straw that broke the camel's back, really. And whatever it was, I think it might have been, was it Channock Crisis that did in Lloyd George, but the Seal of Honours was a major contributory thing. So
it was, yeah.
You had the Seal of Honours Act of 1925, and Billiard League turns Maundy Gregory in for this, and there's a few backdoor meetings, and essentially it's coming out. Maundy Gregory said stuff like, well, the gist is that if he squeals, if he if he goes down for this, he's bringing a few people down with him, and he's so well connected at this point that he could bring down most of the establishment. And a few of the intermediaries sort of calmed down and say, look, there's no way we're going to be able to sell you as not doing jail time for this. And they bargained with him. He got sentenced to 2 months in prison in a cushy cell for £50 and a £50 fine. And this was a man who had he was a millionaire, multi-millionaire. So essentially Maundy did his 2 months in prison. Very, very cushy appointment. Got out and went right back to selling honours, even making up honours, selling a lot of overseas honours, and a lot of Roman Catholic Church honours. Presumably he'd used his dad's old church stuff to fit out his Parliament Square office. And there was also the issue of Edith Rosse as well. I mean, Maundy was starting to, like Effie Smith, starting to get really in over his head with debt. And Edith Rosse, who he had lived with about 15 years at this point, and she changed her will to leave everything to Maundy Gregory, and just days later died of mysterious causes. There have been various things named. There have been heart attacks, dehydration, poisoning. At one point, her...
Bloody hell!
Yeah, so this is where it gets really spooky. Her... Essentially, there was no kind of firm sort of autopsy result. But her body was buried in this cemetery that was prone to high tides and the waters coming in and wrecking the bodies. And somebody has since traced that Maundy was also a Freemason, with references to sort of he had maybe art around his place, or books, specific books related to Freemason knowledge about body or rituals around bodies a high water tide. But basically, where I'm kind of going with this is to say that at some point later, within about 5 years, there was enough curiosity about Edith Rosse's death to exhume her body.
Oh my God.
But it had been so waterlogged that it was just really impossible to try and
You couldn't
figure out
tell,
for
yeah.
sure if foul play had been involved.
Yeah. Once we start going into corruption, especially seeps in, it's really, really difficult to do autopsies on a dead person, because the waterlog adds extra complications because of the way we break down. We basically liquefy. Ugh. So yeah, try to do not anything nefarious happened would be rather difficult. That's why you're meant to do it at the time when the person is freshly dead, essentially. And it was still, don't get me wrong, the autopsy then was fairly decent, I guess. It's better now, obviously. But once the body gets waterlogged and we start basically corrupting, breaking down after death, it is really difficult to check if anything happened to us. Yeah, do it quick, or you're not going to be able to get the information that you need, unfortunately. That's why trying to autopsy people who have been put in oil barrels, which is rather common for the mob to do in Las Vegas, oddly enough. Ugh. Carry on.
So Maundy's selling papal honours at this point. He's also getting into all these problems, printing bills overdue, staff salaries, the Ambassador Club overheads are now a serious problem. He's got a mortgage on his house at Hyde Park Terrace. The Brothel Hotel in Dorking in Surrey, the management's not getting paid. Have been deducting from the management neglected to pay the monies it had been deducting from the wages of the 28 hotel employees for health and unemployment insurance. And it's just all kind of going to pot. Maundy Gregory still making his appearances at various Berlin Nazi rallies. So Edith Rosse, mysterious death kind of thing. And then, so that's us in with the Bow Street hearing around Maundy Gregory. And I mean, there were various sort of people that kind of had to show up. I guess this is for, the honours thing. People were kind of looking strange, but essentially he was offered this deal. Just sort of take the hit. 2 months prison, £50 fine, and then we'll ship you off out of the country, over to France. I mean, he still managed to do, once he got out of prison, he still managed to do an exclusive for the Daily Express around the life and death of his dear friend, Mrs. Rosse. But essentially, to cut a long story short, he was shipped over to France mid to late 1930s. I guess it must be the late 30s when he began his exile, because it wasn't long before Germans invaded and he was kind of caught behind enemy lines. And there's various stories. So I mean, over there he still had a similar sort of aesthetic go on. He was a popularly noticeable figure wearing a fur coat, carrying a bag with a tiny little dog in it. That would yap at everybody. And at one point, I mean, the Germans were coming to invade the city or town of Dieppe, where he was. So Maundy went on the run, and he had his bicycle. He went on. He left Dieppe with his bicycle with a little basket in front with the dog in it, yapping away. Eventually, the Germans caught up with him, and he ended up in a POW camp, and died, I think, of liver failure. It's not entirely sure. There may have been a self-poisoning thing involved. He was also seriously alcoholic by this stage. And there may have been, I mean, the liver problems might have been down to him not being able to get his regular fix. As I said, in 100 years, there's never been another person charged with the Seal of Honours legislation. Lloyd George was completely unrepentant about it in private anyway. I mean, he made a few sort of pronouncements about, how it was such a terrible thing. In fact, mirroring Starmer and the Morgan McSweeney affair, only days before Lloyd George and Maundy were caught out around the Seal of Honours, Lloyd George had been decrying it as a terrible, terrible practice that nobody should ever be doing.
Hypocrite! What a hypocrite!
Yeah. And he'd been raking it in for 8 years at that point.
Yeah.
Knowingly, he wasn't removed from. I mean, I don't know if he ever met Maundy Gregory personally, but at most there was like 1 degree of separation between them.
Yeah.
Gregory was meeting with his private secretaries.
They may not have met. They may not have met each other, but they were definitely operating in similar orbit, essentially through their connections. So yeah, they may not have met. It would be fun to find out if they did meet each other. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they operated in the same sort of sphere. I would just from who Maundy Gregory basically colluded with and things. So yeah, 1 degree of separation essentially between him and Lloyd George, which is fun.
And I remember when I started doing this about 16, 18 years ago. I did a lot of broad research, and so I didn't know an awful lot about Lloyd George, and I remember reading up on him and thinking, well, actually, this was quite a progressive prime minister in many ways. I mean, Lloyd George really pushed the whole welfare reform of 1912.
He did, yeah.
Early in his career, a lot of this sort of, laying down the groundworks of what Bevan would build upon as Britain's social welfare system. And it really just seems to be. It really just seems to be this sort of wartime period of Lloyd George where he goes into coalition with the Tories that marks his kind of fall. I think Maundy Gregory's most emblematic of that.
Yes, yeah.
And it's kind of, it's sad to see. It's like we said with Bottomley last week. It's a tragedy because of somebody with so much potential to do so much good stuff to just sort of go full on Walter White like this. It's really sad. Yeah. So, I mean, there's loads of other Maundy Gregory stuff we just could not have covered, even if we were really,
Yeah,
really well organized. I know it's
yeah.
something that I would like to return to and make a video on YouTube channel maybe later. But yeah, it'll happen. So,
Keep me posted. You've definitely got at least one viewer here. I will definitely watch it. Don't you worry, because these people are endlessly fascinating to me,
yeah.
and how they've molded basically how the system works to this very day, which is just maybe not terrifying, but definitely infuriating.
Yeah. Next,
These people are all hypocrites and
yeah,
bastards.
I've still a few more stories to tell you, and I have a few short stories, or I can tell you the epic mega story, full 3 hour stream of Trebich Lincoln, and that's one I can
Yay!
recite off by heart.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's
We can maybe
and that yeah,
we can do
three
that
hours.
next weekend.
That'll be a full length one. Um,
Cool.
in the meantime, some of you might be following me over on youtube.com/@AndrewLuke, where I'll be sharing gerbil videos and Scottish tours videos across the next couple of weeks. Also, I'm going to plug my Patreon again.
Carry on.
In May, my Patreon will be 9 years old, so I'm going to work out, do something special, maybe like a 10 hour long stream or something. I'm open to suggestions. Bring them, bring them. But I'll tell you what's special.
Oh, let me think. Let me think. I'll think of things that you can cover. Don't you worry.
If I do a long stream, would you come on and collab with me for some of that?
I would indeed. I'd love
I'd
to. It'd be
love to have you,
amazing. Of
Katie. That'd be great.
course. Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of
course, yes.
So on my Patreon, you'll get access to all my advanced stuff, as well as like 9 years of stuff, some stuff that is still locked, as well as some behind the scenes stuff on next week's Trebich Lincoln character. Oh God, so much to talk about. But anyway, here's what I was going to say. Patreon membership starts at £1 a month. And for that, you get everything I'm offering. You get the same stuff, a pound, whether you give me a pound or £30. Also, I'm operating under the old Patreon system. So if, say you go and subscribe tonight, you don't have to pay anything. You just go straight. And if you get to the end of February, 28 days, and decide, well, this isn't for me, or I don't have enough, I don't have a pound, just leave. No bother. So this is like a sort of 20-day try before you buy trial.
Yeah.
So that's patreon.com/Andy Luke. Yeah.
I'm sure I've signed up now and I'm paying, I believe. So you've got me now. Lucky you. You've got a mad Scottish Marxist on your Patreon. And I'll give you suggestions. I can give you suggestions until the cows come home. So lucky you. I'll be giving you extra work.
And Abby Dozy. And I'm just trying to work out some time to talk to Katie about getting her on Patreon as a creator, because it has helped me out so many times through the years. I maybe only get about £40, but that £40 a month that happens to be a big help. I've paid so many electric bills and phone bills with that. It's really given me a bit more wiggle room in my life. And so I'm forever indebted to my sponsors. Thank you, patrons.
Any extra that I can get, if I will be signing up. Don't you worry. I'm looking into it just now. I'll do it with a view to start in March, which will be a fun month for me. My birthday's in March, so that will be fun. Yeah, your lass is going to be 47. Luckily, I don't look it. Lucky me. But yeah, so with a view to starting in March, I'm doing research and stuff. And so that'll be fun. Basically, political hot takes and stuff of that nature, health and disability issues. So being able to get extra money. I've made the threshold for my Twitch pay. I'm not monetized on YouTube yet. That's a long slog, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was asking Helena about that last year at just before Christmas. I was asking her, did it take you a while to get monetized on Patreon? Said, yeah, expect a long slog pay.
Look,
but getting money from Patreon would actually help me. So
yeah. So
even if it's just like a few quid a month.
I mean, I've got 22,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'll level with you why I've got 22,000 subscribers, as well as being like sort of reasonably well known even before I did YouTube stuff. That's paid promotion. That's using YouTube promotions and Google Ads to specifically direct the algorithm to attract followers.
Yay.
And I assume most of them are legitimate followers.
I would assume they are, yeah.
I mean, I'm nowhere near monetization. I mean, I'm figuring out you essentially you've got to have like, I guess 400 or 4,000 public watch hours, which means in the last
it's went up. It's 5,000 watch hours through whoever's subscribed to you, so it's 5,000 now. It changed last year at some point, I believe. So it's 5,000 watch hours. Or
yeah, and those people have to be logged in and watching.
A million hours in shorts. Yeah, what?
What? That much?
Yeah, it's 1 million hours in. Yeah, it's 1 million hours in shorts. I've got YouTube Studio on my phone. Yeah, to get monetization, you need these three things. You need 15 or 20,000 subscribers and 1 million hours on shorts. So they're roughly up to 2 minutes for shorts. So
yeah,
so over 500,000 of them essentially, which is just madness.
I have no interest in doing shorts except for the purpose of getting monetized on YouTube. So I do have about 30 of them generated, but I couldn't even be bothered uploading them. But I guess that's the thing, yeah. Your pin is just so
for me,
good
the ones I
sustain people, even if it's not a lot of money, to know that anybody is willing to lay down money on you really helps. Yeah.
Because of what I'd want to do in shorts, it is not possible for me to actually talk about the things that might be more educational and engaging for the shorts. I can't do them in under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not physically possible for me to explain how my area, my degree in virology and parasitology, I can't condense that to 2 fucking minutes. Or in health or disability, especially gynecological health, so women's health essentially, and LGBTQ health as well. I can't do those in 2 minutes. It's not physical.
I need to go about shorts, Katie, would be to pre-existing content. I mean, because you're streaming so much. Is it 7 days a week? 7 mornings a week?
It's 5 or 6. I try to take at least one day. I try to take at least one day off unless my health just says fuck yeah. Then I might have to take 2 or 3 days off because my joints are.
Yes, so
but yeah, I try to do 6.
With your doppelganger, who is also helping you work stuff, you would take your long streams, and your transporter twin would be there, and your transporter twin who knows how to edit videos into like 1 or 2 minute bits.
Yeah,
would be cutting those down, uploading them. But look, it's worth saying, I don't know how many people are watching us between our streams, but if you are and you see material that I'm putting out or that Katie's putting out, get in touch with us
between my two.
and say, look, you've just summed something up in a minute here that's brilliant and deserves to be seen by others. Tell us what that is, where it is, and maybe we can get around to sort of cutting it down. Or if you're feeling extra generous and have editing skills and maybe a transporter twin, cut it down yourself, send it to us on the back channels, and we'd be so grateful. We'll put that out.
Thank you. Yes.
We do have
I'll get back to you on that.
amazing people. So thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice one. Thank you, Andy. Right. Shall we end this? Thank you so much. Learning about Maundy Gregory. Holy fuck, that was brilliant. And I can't wait for Trevor's Lincoln. It's going to be epic.
Spot on. Oh, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, there's links to Katie Marshall's YouTube stream and Twitch stream in the description. Go and give her follows. We're kind of doing this on a sort of a weekly basis for a while. And I believe it's now customary for Katie to promote another stream where she should go and check out. People should go and check out a raid, these Twitchers call it.
Yes, it's a raid. So we'll be. I still haven't figured out how to raid out on YouTube. I will figure it out. Don't you worry. I will ask other YouTubers, other leftist YouTubers, and people who do history and stuff that are in my Discord. I will get them to help me with this. I have to control them. I will bribe them essentially. They can come onto the channel and promote themselves. But yeah, me figure this shit out. So I'm better on Twitch. It's easier for me to operate in Twitch, oddly enough, which is weird. Because I first set out this thinking I was going to create a brilliant resource on YouTube, but YouTube's an uphill struggle. Thanks, Alphabet. You yeah. I will stop right there because I still want to actually have money on YouTube.
I've had a few comments over from people that are your Twitch regulars, just sort of letting me know how it's looking over on YouTube here. So thanks for that. Yeah. So who are we gonna go watch on Twitch now?
It's Capricorn, but it will be I don't know Shanna Cranky Pants that we're going over to. So I'll do my standard exit, dehydrated, not necessarily cider. Self-care is based, free Palestine, and Clay laugh at Morgan McSweeney having to tag. It will be fun. I don't see Keir Starmer last longer with any fucking luck. Do you see him lasting, Andy?
I don't know. Christmas. I don't like to look so far ahead. We're not in the old political system where if somebody was caught doing what they've done, they would be gone. Nowadays, you just hang in there like constipation. So it would
pretty
be nice.
much, yeah.
Do you know?
They'll still be. Do
you know? I think, and maybe it's part of the left-wing echo chamber, but the sacrifice of Morgan McSweeney will not appease my gods. So if we don't see Starmer go, we may see others connected with the Labour Together chicanery.
So we've got like Lammy, so he's the current Justice Secretary, former Foreign Secretary. We've got Bridget Phillipson, Education, Steve Reid, Housing and Communities. Basically, he's housing and the Cabinet Secretary for like councils across England. Who else have we got? We've got Hilary Ben, Tony Benn's son. Doing PMQs, he's the rather, I don't like fat shaming, but he looks chubby and old and decrepit. Hilary, just fucking retire, just go away. So he's laboured together. Plus, you've got other ones who are back office within number 10, who we don't know, Morgan McSweeney's little minions, essentially. So some of them you might see some people from number 10 saying that they're leaving, that they're fucking off as well.
I think David
so I can see that definitely happening.
I think David Lammy's probably, I mean, he's totally complicit, but although he looks like a domestic abuser, he's also safe because of speaking out again and again against the inclusion of Peter Mandelson. I mean, if David Lammy is warning you something's a bad idea, it's probably already past that threshold a good bit. So yeah.
Okay, so that's me rated out. I will catch you later, Andy. This has been bloody amazing. Thank you so much. And everyone, come over to Shanna with me. We can annoy Shanna. She's currently watching Lost. And it's all flooding back now because I did back in the day. Yeah. Thank you, Andy. It's been amazing. I will end the call now.
I will put a link to Shanna's in the YouTube chat and maybe see you over there. Thanks very much, Katie. Good night.
Thank you, Andy. See you later. Bye, everyone.